I found out my parents were planning to give my house to my brother while I was thousands of miles away, and they thought I'd never know. The message popped up by mistake, and in that second, my whole family story cracked open. They weren't asking me, they weren't warning me. They were already packing his things, and the worst part? They were laughing about how easy it would be to handle me later. Before I go on, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because what I did next wasn't loud, wasn't emotional, but it changed everything in a way they never saw coming. My name is Blair, and in my family I was always the quiet one, the one who didn't fight back, the one they assumed would agree, forgive, and move on like always. My parents praised my brother Evan for breathing, while every choice I made was called risky or selfish. When I bought my house, they said it was too big for someone like me. When I worked late nights, they said I was wasting my life. So when I told them I was leaving for a short work trip, they smiled a little too wide and said, "Don't worry about a thing." I wouldn't have worried if my mom hadn't accidentally sent me a voice note meant for my aunt. Her voice was relaxed, confident. She said Evan would move in while I was gone, just for now, and they'd tell me later that it was temporary. My dad joked that I'd complain for a week, then give up like I always did. Evan laughed in the background and asked which room would be his. They were already deciding where to put his gaming setup inside the home I paid for, the home they never helped me buy. I sat there staring at my phone, heart pounding, but something strange happened. I didn't feel panic. I felt calm. Because for the first time, they had no idea who I really was or what I was capable of protecting.
They
thought this trip meant distance. They thought silence meant weakness. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning quietly for years, learning how people move when they think no one's watching. So instead of calling them, instead of fighting, I did something they never expected. I booked my flight like nothing was wrong. I replied in the family group chat with smile emojis. I even told Evan to make himself comfortable if he stopped by. But while they were busy planning how to take my space, I started setting something else up, something legal, clean, and impossible to undo once it started. They believed they were walking into my empty house. What they didn't know was that I was already laying the trap. When I landed back in the city, I pretended like everything was normal. I walked into my apartment carrying my luggage, smiling and nodding at neighbors as if it was just another day. But inside, every step echoed with a plan I'd been cooking up quietly. The first thing I did was check every room doors, windows, cameras, making sure there were no surprises left by my welcome committee. Nothing. It was empty. Just the faint scent of Evan's favorite cologne lingering from the voice note, as if he had already started marking territory in my mind. I sent a casual text to my parents. Home safe, all good here. Their replies were almost immediate. My mom added a kiss emoji and wrote, "Don't forget to unpack. Evan might come by tomorrow to drop something off." That was it. Nothing suspicious, nothing warning me, but I knew every move they made, every word they typed, revealed how confident they were. They were walking straight into the trap I had spent hours planning while they thought I was oblivious. Over the next few hours, I prepared the house strategically. I had quietly installed smart locks, security cameras, and automated alerts months ago, pretending it was just for convenience. Now, every door they touched, every step Evan tried to take would be logged and sent directly to my phone. I even went further. I booked a professional home security check for the next day, telling my parents I wanted to test the alarms while I was out for work. They thought it was routine. They didn't realize that I had lawyers on standby, ready to execute any step the moment they crossed the line. The real twist came when I called my attorney, smiling as I explained the situation. "So let me get this straight," he said, almost laughing. "They're moving in while you're away? Without any legal permission? That's beautiful. We can handle this quietly, and trust me, they'll regret thinking it's just a family matter." I knew he was right. My parents had always underestimated me, mocked me for living in my head, for dreaming too big. But now every small move I'd made, every investment, every legal paper I'd filed, every silent strategy was about to pay off. That evening, I made dinner, put on my favorite playlist, and acted like the world was normal. My brother called me, cheerful, asking what room he could claim, and I simply said, the guest room is perfect. It even has a view of the park. He didn't realize that by agreeing, I had set him up to be the one trapped. My parents, proud as ever, texted me pictures of Evan's supposed move-in prep, completely blind to the fact that every photo, every detail they were sending was evidence for me to use. The next day, I invited a few neighbors and friends under the pretense of a small housewarming celebration. It wasn't just a casual gathering, it was stage one of my plan. Cameras captured every moment, while I quietly monitored my phone, watching live feeds of Evan and my parents driving up, thinking they were about to claim my space. When they arrived, they were shocked to see the house bustling with people they didn't know, all friendly, all aware of me being present and alert. Their confidence faltered immediately, and then came the message that would haunt them forever. I casually walked past the living room, phone in hand, sending the footage of their every move to my attorney. The moment they realized that this wasn't a prank, that their steps were recorded, that any attempt to enter without permission would have immediate consequences, the laughter drained from their faces. My parents exchanged glances that screamed panic. Evan froze, still holding his gaming console like a shield, suddenly realizing he had walked straight into my invisible trap. By that evening, I had everything under control. They couldn't touch a single thing in my home without facing legal action. I didn't yell, I didn't argue, I let their overconfidence do the work for me. And deep inside, I felt a thrill I hadn't experienced before, the satisfaction of knowing that, for once, I wasn't underestimated, I wasn't ignored, and I wasn't powerless. I had turned their secret betrayal into a showcase of my quiet strength, and they hadn't even seen it coming. But just when I thought the battle was won, my phone buzzed with a message from my mom. The text was simple: "Blair, we need to talk now." And in that instant, I realized this wasn't over. The trap was set, but the real game was just beginning. My mom's message sat on my screen like a threat wrapped in politeness. "We need to talk now." I didn't reply right away. That silence was new for them, and it bothered them more than any argument ever had. Instead, I poured myself coffee, sat at the kitchen island, and watched the camera feed on my tablet. My parents and Evan were still parked outside, whispering inside the car, pointing at my front door like it had personally betrayed them. For the first time in my life, they looked unsure. When I finally stepped outside, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask questions. I simply said, "Why are you here?" My dad tried to take control fast. He said this was a misunderstanding, that Evan just needed a temporary place, that family helps family. Evan jumped in, saying Mom promised him the house would feel like home. That's when I smiled, not a happy smile, but the kind that makes people stop talking. I asked Evan calmly, "Did you sign a lease?" He shook his head. I asked my parents, "Did you get my permission?" Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence. My mom's tone changed. She went from sweet to sharp in seconds. She accused me of being selfish, said I was choosing money over blood, said any decent daughter would have handed over the keys already. Neighbors slowed their walks. One of my friends stepped closer, sensing the shift. I felt that old pressure, the one that used to make me fold. But it didn't work this time. I told my mom, in the same calm voice, that everything was recorded. The driveway, the messages, the plans. Her face drained of color. That's when my dad snapped. He said if I didn't let Evan move in, they'd tell everyone I abandoned my family. He said they'd make sure I regretted this. I didn't argue. I just handed him my phone and told him to listen to the voice note my mom had sent by mistake, the one where they joked about handling me later. Hearing her own words play back, my mom reached for the phone like she could pull them back into her mouth. Too late. Evan finally understood something was wrong. He asked why there were cameras everywhere, why a lawyer's name was on my lock screen, why people kept showing up with clipboards asking about property lines and security checks. I told him the truth. This house wasn't just my home, it was an asset tied to a trust and a business structure I'd built quietly over years. Any unauthorized move-in would trigger legal action automatically. No warnings, no family discounts. His mouth opened, then closed. He had never imagined I'd planned that far ahead. My parents tried one last move. My mom started crying real tears this time and said she was disappointed in who I'd become. That one used to break me. This time it didn't. I told her I became exactly who I had to be because no one ever protected me. I reminded them how they laughed when I bought this place, how they said it wouldn't last, how they always assumed Evan would need saving and I would be fine. I was fine, I said, because I learned to survive without you. They left shortly after, quiet, embarrassed, eyes low. Evan didn't say goodbye. That night, the family group chat went dead. No jokes, no advice, no control. Just silence. And for the first time, that silence felt like peace. But peace didn't last long. 3 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was my aunt, my mom's sister, the one who knew everyone's secrets. Her voice was tight. She told me my parents weren't done. They were telling relatives a different story now. One where I was unstable. One where they were worried about me. One where they were considering legal options. I thanked her for the warning and hung up slowly, because if they wanted to play that game, they had no idea how badly they were about to lose. The moment my parents realized their plan had failed, their faces crumbled completely. My dad tried to act tough, but his confidence was gone. Evan slouched, holding his bag like he'd been caught red-handed, and even my mom's tears couldn't hide the panic in her eyes. I didn't shout, I didn't scream, I just stood there, calm, letting them feel the full weight of their overconfidence backfire. I told them one last time, this house is mine. Every decision about it is mine. Anyone stepping in without permission faces consequences legally and permanently. Their mouths opened, closed, and opened again. Nothing came out. For once, the perfect family image shattered right in front of them. By nightfall, they had driven off quietly. Evan didn't even look back. The group chat went dead. No calls, no messages, no demands. The trap was fully sprung, and I had one without a single fight. I walked through my house, every room echoing with my silent victory. The home I'd fought for, paid for, and protected was finally untouchable, and I felt the thrill of true empowerment for the first time in my life. As I sat on my balcony, looking at the city lights, I realized something incredible. The family who once mocked me now feared me. I wasn't the quiet daughter anymore. I was Blair, the one who planned, acted, and won. And from that night on, I knew they would never underestimate me again. The battle was over, and for the first time, I was truly free.